In this reality, Ego got redeemed, but this happened because of one person. The centerpiece of his redemption in the other reality appeared somewhat timid, but in this reality she had a little more mastery over her powers, and she was a little bolder. Her name is Mantis. Location: Planet of Ego. Peter Quill believed that he had fallen for it. He had been played a fool all this while. He just discovered and received the most shocking news. The last few days had held so many discoveries for him, but this particular one stood tall. Peter was on a getaway from the Sovereign because of Rocket. His teammate had stolen some Anulax batteries, and this enraged them. Star-Lord, as always, had prayed for a miracle to help them escape. However, he did not think so much of it, but the universe had other plans. He was saved by a mysterious but quite powerful figure. That figure turned out to be a man who claimed to be Peter's father. This sent jolts of shock down all of the Guardians' spines. Peter himself was so shocked that he was rendered speechless for a while. His acclaimed father had introduced himself as Ego and offered to take them to his home planet. Star-Lord, along with Gamora and Drax, accepted his offer and arrived safely. There, they began their exploration. Ego wanted some personal time with Star-Lord, and that was exactly what happened. He explained everything to Peter. He told him that he was a Celestial, but he was trapped on his planet. When he was questioned about how he was able to move around, he explained that it was just a figurine, which had limited time outside his world. Peter still did not completely believe him, but his head was clouded with emotions. One side of him wanted to beat up Ego for abandoning him and his mother for this long. Another part of him wanted to run towards him and hug him. This was his dad, and he had missed out on having one right from childhood. He decided that the only person he should channel his anger at should be Yondu. This was because his father had confessed that he sent Yondu to fetch him. However, Yondu had obviously done the opposite. Peter hated him so much now. Even though a lot of his moments and memories with Yondu had been pleasant, the pirate had deprived him of seeing his father, and that was unforgivable. After that, his dad and him had embarked on a self-discovery journey. Actually, it was Peter who embarked on the journey, as he discovered that he had celestial powers. When his powers came into fruition, Peter had noticed that his dad seemed more happy than home, but wrote it off as a parental thing. Little did he know that the most shocking thing was yet to be revealed. In a set of events that took him by storm, Star-Lord realized that his father, Ego, was a true villain. It would have been too late, but Mantis had informed Drax and the others before it had gotten out of hand. It was time for war, and it was either his father or them. It was Ego against them. Their chance of victory was very slim because they were in his island, but they were soon joined by Rocket, Groot, and Yondu, who recently escaped from trouble. However, before they could start their attack sequence, Mantis stopped them. She had a certain air and aura about her. She told them that even though Ego had killed and destroyed multiple people and planets, she still felt that he could be saved. Star-Lord was not having it though. He wanted to destroy Ego once and for all. The man had killed his mother and he wanted him to pay. However, Mantis still stood her ground. The whole situation took the Guardians who had gotten in contact with her because she appeared so calm and timid. Mantis quickly picked up on their feelings and thoughts. She then proceeded to explain to them that it was all an act. She stated boldly and clearly in their minds that she took on that persona so that Ego would not feel wary or suspicious of her. I know that you have a lot of hate for him, but I still know that deep down you still want him around because he is your dad. "Our dad," Mantis said in Star-Lord's mind, and this surprised him. He had no idea that she was also an offspring of Ego. He then realized that this meant that her mother, and possibly her world, was already destroyed by Ego in his maniacal quest of self-expansion. This meant that she had equal rights as him, or even more, in the decision-making of what the Guardians would do concerning Ego. Star-Lord then nodded at her in acceptance and submission. The Guardians looked at him in shock because it was unlike Peter to easily give up on his course. However, he explained that he was in his right senses, but Mantis would be the one to direct them in their next line of action. Everyone then looked on at Mantis, while she told them about the plan she had. As she did so, Star-Lord mildly but amusingly realized that if Mantis was Ego's offspring, it meant that they were related. It meant that they were half-siblings. Mantis's plan was simple and very straightforward. However, most of the Guardians did not like it because it had a high possibility of not working. The plan depended mostly on one person. If the centerpiece or that one person was any of their teammates, they wouldn't have any issue with the plan. They wouldn't have also feared as much if that one person was Yondu, because they had a sort of bond with him. However, that one person was Ego himself. Mantis's plan, as Gamora put it, was based on emotional sentiment. Her plan was to appeal to Ego's good side and conscience, but quite frankly, none of them thought he had any of those things anymore. Mantis was still adamant. She stated that she was an empath and she sensed good in Ego. Even though it was deep down, she stated that it was still there. Gamora looked over at Star-Lord to confirm if they were going to still follow Mantis's plan. She was met with a shrug from him, and then she sighed. After much complaining, they got ready to perform their part of the plan. All they had to do was to distract Ego, while she and Peter went up to Ego's essence. Mantis claimed to have a secret weapon up her sleeve. However, once they left, Gamora ordered Rocket to make a bomb as a contingency plan. "I don't trust this plan, and I don't know why Peter does," she said. They could all just hope and pray. Mantis's plan had worked. While the rest of the Guardians had successfully distracted him, when they were near Ego's essence, she and Star-Lord held hands. Using his celestial powers, she invoked numerous memories of all the people Ego had hurt and inevitably destroyed. Somehow, this had made the celestial being reconsider his ways. All this while, he wanted what he thought was best for the universe, more of himself. His goal of self-expansion was due to the fact that he was, according to his standards, the optimal being. However, he did not realize that by doing this, he was actually going against his goal. Because he was destroying the universe, Ego asked for the forgiveness of both his offerings, but he did not get any reply. He stated that he understood and would spend the remainder of his life trying to fix the harm he had done. Star-Lord decided that this was the right thing to do, and he respected his father's decision. Rocket was, however, frustrated at the fact that he did not get to use his bomb that he made using the Annulax batteries that he had stolen. While they were having a sort of celebratory occasion going, Yondu pulled Peter aside and revealed something to him. He told him that the only reason he had not delivered Star-Lord to Ego, as the contract stipulated, was because he feared that Ego would kill him. Before Yondu could continue with his speech and tell Star-Lord that the very reason he was dethroned and imprisoned by his own team was because of him, he was shut up by a hug. Even though the hug was swift because Peter did not want the rest of the team teasing him, Yondu teared up on what he whispered to him. "Thank you, Dad," Peter had said. Location: space. Time: 4 years later. It had been 4 years ever since Ego had turned a new leaf, and Peter had to admit he had actually changed. His dad had joined them, and they had been stopping crime and helping a lot of people all over the universe. However, for some time his dad had been getting on his nerves. Quill was the captain of the Guardians in the ship, but for some time now it felt as if Ego was trying to usurp him from that position. Currently, they were having one of their numerous arguments. They were just driving through space when they received a distress signal. Quill decided that they should go and check it out, but Ego did not like the idea. He stated that they ignored it. This led to them arguing for a long time before Gamora actually scolded them. This was usually how most of their arguments ended. They put the decision up to a vote, and most of them decided to check out the distress signal because, quite frankly, they were all bored. However, what they did not know was that this would lead them into a huge enemy called Thanos. Location? Nowhere. When they followed the distress signal, they discovered Thor and his Guardians, who were literally floating in space. While they helped them out, they got information that Thanos was gathering all the Infinity Stones. Gamora then confirmed this news, and stated that his ultimate goal was to wipe half of the universe's population. They then decided to go to nowhere. However, before they did, Gamora made Peter promise her that he would kill her if she was facing inevitable capture by Thanos. She stated that only her knew the location of the Soul Stone, and they could not afford Thanos getting his hands on it. It turned out that Gamora was right. Thanos did come for her, but Star-Lord could not kill her, due to him using the Reality Stone. However, as Thanos escaped with Gamora using the Space Stone, before the portal could completely close, Ego used his celestial powers to rapidly carry himself and Star-Lord inside. After that, the portal got closed with Drax and Mantis being left behind. Location? Vormir. In order to take this stone, you must lose what you love. A soul for a soul, Red Skull said. Peter and Ego were in the shadows watching as they continued their dialogue. Star-Lord wanted to go out and combat Thanos, but Ego held him back. He told him that they needed to observe first, but Star-Lord did not like it. He wanted to go and save Gamora immediately. Suddenly, he heard when she started mocking her father, Thanos, for not being able to fulfill the condition because he did not love anyone. However, she was wrong, as it was shown that he loved her. Star-Lord immediately saw events happening very rapidly, as Thanos dragged Gamora to sacrifice her. He quickly wanted to go out and save her, but he knew that even with his celestial powers, he would never make it in time. The only person that had any chance of making it was Ego. "Dad, please save her," Peter cried out, but he was infuriated to see that he was still there looking at him sadly. "I hope you forgive me, Peter," Ego said, as he looked at his son and smiled sadly. Then he literally flew into action. Gamora was already falling to her death, however. Ego flew to her and threw her safely to Star-Lord's arm. Star-Lord was relieved, but he immediately noticed that Ego was not slowing down. It took him a moment, but he suddenly realized what he was about to do. "No!" Thanos screamed as he realized what was happening too. But it was late. Ego sacrificed himself, and apparently, he was loved by Star-Lord because the Soul Stone immediately availed itself to him. Star-Lord was so filled with rage and anguish that immediately he got the stone. The first thing he did was to completely destroy Thanos' soul. After that, he fell on his knees while he cried. Gamora tried her best to comfort him, but Star-Lord could not be comforted. "I forgive you, yes, I forgive you, please come back," he kept on saying, but nothing could be done. Ego was gone forever.